Okay, now we begin the Board of Trustees Board Workshop, Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. We call this meeting to order at exactly 8:39 p.m. Mr. Mendez,
Present.
Ms. Garcia,
Present.
Ms. Cruz, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Lopez, Mr. Rosas, Dr. Carmen,
Present.
Mr. Torres. Agenda item 2, Budget Workshop. Ms. Rendon.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. Is it on? Okay, it's a long night. This evening, I'm going to go over through the workshop. Key information. We're going to start off with the calendar. Just as a reminder, I presented it at the last workshop. It's the same one. We've done preliminaries back in February, discussed ADA. If you go down the item, we're on May 8th, which is tonight, and we're going to review the budget workshop with the Board of Trustees, review the requests, revenues, and tax rates. The next one is on May 29th. We will be publishing the notice to adopt the budget, and that has a stipulation that it has to be not less than 10 days, not more than 30 days in the newspaper. We'll be doing that on May 29th. On June 5th, the budget workshop with the Board of Trustees. That is at our next the next finance committee. And that will be where we sew it all up and present it to the board with the considerations that we will be discussing today. On June 12th, we will hold a public hearing on the proposed budget. And this is where we adopt the budget for the 2018-2019 year. The little difference on this is since we changed our year, on August the 14th, we will come back and adopt the tax rate. In previous years, we've done both of them, but because we're dealing with preliminary, not certified values, we want to hold off a little bit. That changes once we get there, what we're going to get on the tax rate. We'll have more of an accurate picture. So we'll be adopting the tax rate outside of the board, something that we usually do at the same time. That's our calendar, just to give you, so that y'all are aware of what we anticipate doing. Our whole goal is to present to you a balanced budget. That is what we are going to achieve. On the second page, and this is what we use in order to determine, this is what we have as a summary of finance. And these are the items that it's a formula that we put in, and to see how much the state is going to send us. I'm not going to go through all of it, but key points. Number one line item, and you'll see the numbers to your left, the refined average daily attendance. I'm working on 9685 as the average daily attendance. This is very close to the same items the same number that I prepared this budget this past year. We talked a little bit about gaining some students, but we need to net out that we lost students. So I'm preparing it with the same 200 plus students. We lost them, but we hope to gain them back. I'm being conservative. I know that we talked about the potential that we could get 360 students plus. We also could get some with the STEAM Academy, bring some more students. So right now we're doing the conservative side. Doing that, key things to point out is we get if you go into career and technology FTEs, we have 861. That's how many FTE students that we're getting some funding for. These are numbers that are from current. The midsection, it talks about the tax rate. So in that, I plugged in what I knew, and there's some items that are still lacking on that. The bottom portion where it says Tier 1 allotments, and we're starting off with number 28. Just a key, this is the money that is spelled out that the state sends us for specific programs. Starting off with the 11, that's our regular program, and you see how much we receive. Then we start with 23, we call that program intent. They specifically send us that money, and there's in parentheses, it says spend 52%. The state sends us $5.8 million, but our level is that we need to spend at least 52% in order to be compliance with the state. So this is in career and technology in 22, we need to spend 58% of the allocated up to the right. I bring this because sometimes we say we need to spend money. It's not that we spend it, but there's certain money that we need to spend in certain program codes. And I talked to that with I'm very cautious with the principals that there's a reason that when I allocate that amount, we need to meet it. If not, we're not in compliance. Transportation there, just to give you a little update, because of the reports that we submit, we only get 860. We fund the rest. The state hasn't changed these rates in over 30 years. So it's not a whole lot when we have a lot of transportation cost, but local money is being sent on the rest. We get high school allotment. That one, you see that there is not an item that says spend. That means we have to spend it 100%. And that we spend it on a higher ed or trying to get college readiness to do that. The next page. We're going to the state aid, and that just summarizes more or less how much we're going to get from each program. On the 47, from the Foundation School Fund, we'll be receiving $77 million. The Available School Fund, which aids us $73, existing EDA and IFA, and that's to pay our bonds. We get 317 supplement, and then we get 3.287. Just as a side note, where our bonds are 6.2 million, so we have to come up with the difference. And you've seen that, and further on, before we go to the tax rate, I'll have another presentation in regards to the tax rate, how much we're transferring money to meet that obligation. So we're all in the state aid. We anticipate receiving $85,022,158. This is coming from the state. In essence, a little further down, Peggy, that's just from the state aid. They calculate the amount that we're collecting from our maintenance and operation tax rates. If we put that in there, it's $93,435,000. I know you've seen where our budgets we adopt them. They're more like 112 million. Well, to this we add the local. There's the local share that we collect on the outside. This is just coming from the state, so that we make the rest of it, and our budget is more or less 112 million. Where it comes in. That's a little, just a little of how we calculate. Then we're going to go, because it's been a long night, on some of the special requests. We have put in what we call our operating expenses, which is our electricity, our water, and like we have budgets, our general operating. These items are over. They're special requests. Most of them are over 50,000 that we discuss, and if it's okay, then we build them into the budget if available, and we're able to do a balanced budget. These are some of the requests that have come in, and like I said, they're outside of the normal operating. From the cafeteria, they have submitted to me, and there's two columns, budget and fund balance. The budget is that I plan to work these, if it's okay with the trustees, is to build them into the fund balance, if available. And then if it's fund balance, there's just a few of them, and in this area, I don't plan to use a fund balance. The reason that the first 4 items that are cafeteria are coming out of the fund balance is because the cafeteria does have an excess of fund balance that they need to spend down. So with that, they're planning to do serving lines and walk-in coolers at Rangerville and La Paloma. They want to do an automated conveyor packaging machine. That's 125. They want to do the decor package for dining area at the Angela Leal and Dr. Garza, serving counters. So those items of 865,000, they plan to come out of their fund balance, which is the cafeteria. And that fund balance is restricted to do nothing but for the cafeteria. The other items, the core package for the dining area, they plan to use this year's budget from the money that the state sends them, it's still their money, is to do Miller Jordan, Rangerville, La Encantada, and Landrum. Buy a refrigerated merchandiser at Landrum. They are requesting a van in order for them to do some of the deliveries. A walk-in cooler and upgrades to the new serving lines at Berta Cavazza and La Encantada. Any questions?
And this is solely coming from the CMP.
All this is coming from, the budget side is coming from the expenditure, the revenues they're anticipated receiving. The other part, they will be using the fund balance to spend down. If we go into the regular one, the regular request, I have an item under finance for Skyward. Skyward is the new financial package that we're going to, and this is a yearly fee of 105. I did put down underneath, I need to reallocate some of the funds of 125, and that is because not all the services will be done. You recall we brought in a budget amendment to pay for all this, but there's 125,000 that needs to roll over forward because it will not be completely complete. So that's a one-time.
Is that from the 2017, 2018 that exists? We're
Yes.
just moving it to the
Yes.
20. Okay.
So it has been allocated in the present budget, but that portion of it will not, I cannot prepay for something that has not been complete. So that it closes out this year, and I have to reopen it in the following year.
Okay.
Under HVAC or energy, there's energy saving projects. We've allocated 150,000, and this is in case we need some chiller replacements. If there's a need during the year that it goes down, we have set money aside. These are pretty standard. The reallocating for the continuing projects, the LED lighting and the switchboard, these projects are items that have been approved by the board. Same thing. There's a portion of it that might not be completely complete by June 30th. So that portion between those items are really the labor, and they're going to go extend to mid-July. So I need to have that portion available to pay them out. The building purchase implementation, this is boilers and air units. This is another standard that we've been trying to replace some of the boilers throughout the district, and it's a part of the strategic plan. And air units, 300,000. And then we are working diligent on trying to bring up our fire panels, fire alarms and panels up to code in the monitoring. Mr. Cole has been doing that, so and we're also going to put that under monitoring. Our goal there is that if we put this into having some monitoring services, we can decrease some of the security, manual security services that we're currently using. Under maintenance, these are trucks. And then we're allowing for 2 trucks of 55,000. Playground. Oh,
Half and fourth ton, those are trucks.
Vicky. These are 2 trucks that we have. Last year we had postponed 4 trucks. We're doing half. Let's see what we can do with it, and if he can do more through his budget allocations during the year, if he's conservative, then he can relook at the other 2. Playgrounds, we have 2, Frank Roberts and Fred Booth, that need to be replaced. We went ahead and included some mulch that we're moving away from the pea gravel, and we're putting the rubber portion of it. This should complete our playgrounds in the district that have been replaced. Some student desks at the high school. Earlier, we talked about getting some renovations in those 2 hallways. We also want to start doing some of the furniture that has not been that has not been replaced for a while. So we were thinking of also following those two lines and moving some of the better one, but eventually replace them. Under the transportation, we're going to try to put in there 4 buses. We do still have the lease that last year we were very $400,000 that we did those 18 buses, which the drivers love, and Ms. Flores does too. This is something also they want to be more aggressive than maybe in a bond or something like that. We could look at. Then we're going to go off into administrative services. Dr. Phillips, you want to go in, or you've explained some of them, but
Yes, so we've budgeted for a 2% increase, which is, after doing some research, is pretty much the norm in the valley. Most districts are presenting a 2% increase to their staff, so we're right in alignment with where everybody else is. We've allotted for $700,000 for the performance stipends, understanding that that's what is budgeted. And realistically, if we get half of that or close to half of that, then we've shown great student improvement. So that's what we've budgeted for, just in case we knock it out of the park. Teacher supply allowance. This is something that we've budgeted for that will allow us to assist teachers in the back-to-school rush of going out and purchasing things on their own. We feel like that it's important to try to assist teachers in that process, so we just included something in there for within the budget to assist with that.
Dr. Phillips, how would that look like? Will it be just a voucher that is given to them that they can go to Walmart and spend a certain amount of money?
Dr. Carmen, you want to speak to that?
I was trying to choose the right word.
We were trying not to make this as public as possible yet.
not the surprise.
We're stealing an idea from what a couple of districts in the state do. They start off the year by going out and giving a $100 bill to their classroom teachers. It does great things for morale when you give somebody cash, and it's tracked through payroll. So it shows as maybe $104 for somebody, less taxes, so that everybody nets exactly $100. It takes some work on the back end, but then every single person, they sign off that they've received their money. But there's just something powerful about being handed cash, especially a $100 bill. We know it's not enough to cover what a lot of teachers put out of their own pocket into the classroom, but we think that it's something, and we think it'll help start the year off on the right foot.
Is there an allotment for administrative supplies?
Unfortunately, not this year. Also, we have in there the ASOP and Frontline product that we talked about earlier for $125,000, biometric system for $100,000, and the wellness incentive that the board approved on last month. We've budgeted $200,000 for that, understanding that what you approved was reimbursing up to $150 for every employee. We budgeted so that if every employee were to ask for that reimbursement and show proof, then the funds would be there. But we know that realistically, that's probably not going to be the case.
Okay, and the second and the last page, these are items to consider. They're not going to be built into the fund balance. These are items that should be considered by repurposing some of the fund balance that we should net out because of the change of the year, or possible moving it for the committee to consider it bond. So it's kind of, do we want to pay it out of the fund balance, or do we want to move it off to some item on the bond? These are items that have been previously presented: roof replacements, additional seatings at the softball, baseball netting, indoor, these are the items that Dr. Carmen has presented. And how much money we have, considering how much money we have to work with the bond or the fund balance. In here, you see their aquatic center for $4 million. In here, they also have if we go more aggressive and refresh all the hallways and classrooms at the high school, some marquees, some pavement, security cameras district-wide to do an initiative of aggressively putting in the security cameras, district-wide cameras, the indoor facility, I think LED, the district LED. So these are just things that have come up. The auditorium. Do we want a small auditorium with 1,000 seats or maybe 25? And these are just numbers that we've put in. I'm not saying that we just pulled them off of thin air. They're more or less what we're talking about, but we would refine the number once we pinpoint what we want to do. Any questions?
On the, just on the item, because you have auditorium, 1,000 seats, and auditorium, 2,500. I mean, earlier, it kind of threw me off. Can you revise that to read Performing Arts Center?
Sure.
If you don't mind?
Sure.
Secondly, is it in alphabetical order? Put that one at the top, then the aquatic center, and then the football facility would be third.
Can I add something to that, Mr.
The
Mendez?
indoor athletic, yes, sir.
In the, what is it, indoor athletic facility, can we put their indoor multiple use facility?
There you go.
Indoor multiple use facility, more purpose.
So from our conversation earlier in the building committee, or when you talked about the bond committee, they will be given this list.
Yes.
And essentially their decision will be whether to do everything and how we're going to cover it, or which ones and how we're going to cover it.
Yes.
Okay.
Not sure we had a total at the bottom, but that's what, so do we want to go with 33 million? Do we want to go with the 20 years? So, and these are the guides that we can, like I said, we can't tell them, but we say these are ours, or they can add some more at the bottom. And then it would be putting 1, 2, 3, put them in an order of, until
How-
we run out of money, right? Then they have, similar what I'm doing with the budget. I'm building, I'm putting all the operating costs, and then all these other requests. If there's money, we put them in there. If not, we start, what we all do, we start taking stuff out of the shopping cart.
How will we communicate to the bond committee without dictating that we have essentially a top 3 of performing arts center, aquatic center, and indoor multipurpose facility?
Well, we can't, in administration, we can't, that's something that the bond, like the attorney said, they have to come up with telling us what they see.
Right. Right. Yes, but we'll talk them through as far as what makes sense to go into a bond project. If you have a $48,000 paving project versus a $18 or $20 million performing arts center, we'll talk them through the sense of it. And honestly, I think there's a lot of excitement in our community about the possibility of a performing arts center and the aquatic center, and I think the multipurpose. So I don't want to try to dictate where it's going to go, but just based on, I think, some early feedback, I don't think it's going to it's not going to be a real stretch for some of those bigger projects to be probably the focus of those conversations. But we will give them the full menu of items and discuss funding options.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Garcia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mendez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We adjourn at exactly 9:03 p.m.